How do you know what location is a good location to get into to ensure you're investing for the short term and the long term? I'm Jaryd Krause, co-host of the Property Pals Australia podcast.
And I'm Sam Powell, the other guy. And in this episode, Jaryd and I go through my 13-point due diligence checklist for key location metrics in Australia to maximise return on investment. And this is more of a macro approach. So we break them down to help you with your research in targeting key growth locations based on a local government area. So things like infrastructure, sea and tree change, government agendas, things like that. It's pretty jam-packed, isn't it, Jaryd?
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you talk about water, what type of water, why, and how important that is. Talking about employment, single source of dependency on employment or resources in an area. And then the rags to riches is a really cool one that people should be thinking about. Stay tuned, guys. Jump into the pod. I'm sure you're going to love it. We've also got another part, number 2, which is once you've found the location, what should you be looking at in the suburb. So see you on the inside. Welcome to Property Pals, the podcast where we share everything around how to build a property portfolio, from researching areas, financing, structuring, buying, selling, and reinvesting to live a life of financial independence. As a disclaimer, any information shared by myself, Jaryd, Sam, and the Property Pals team is strictly general and should not be taken as constituting professional advice. You should consider seeking independent legal, financial, and taxation advice from a qualified professional. Good morning, Samuel. Let's talk DD for properties.
Yeah, properties indeed. Due diligence.
Due diligence, yes, exactly.
Well, mainly around locations, really. Like a lot of people. I remember we had obviously Goose on the podcast, and he had said something that really stuck with me, which is property is the most misunderstood asset class in Australia. Everyone seems to have an opinion, and everyone seems to be wrong. I mean, that's pretty controversial, but there's a very finite number of people that actually do know what they're talking about, and it comes through years of just being in the market, right? Like a lot of people start with, I want to buy a property and be an investor or owner occupier, and they do a little bit of research, and it might span maybe 6 months or a year, and that's it. And then they buy a property, and then they get on with their life. Mm-hmm. I have pretty long conversations with people around, what to look for. So I thought I'd try and break it down to make people understand my point of view.
So just to be clear, this is to decide on a location in terms of where to buy, or is this due diligence once you've found the location, what sort of street, like flooding, all that sort of what to avoid and what is decent? Because this could be 2 different conversations. Which one do you want?
It's probably more the macro side of it, the local government area type of target location. So not getting into suburb level data or property specifics, more just due diligence on what does make a good long-term growth location from from that viewpoint.
From that perspective. Yeah. All right, cool. Give me the answer.
All right. Little juice. So there's 13 key steps that I go through and check, and we're going to cover them all today. So stick around. There's some really good little insights there that I've put together over time. First things first, mates. Trying to put a bit of cheese into it, but let's get straight into it because it's going to be pretty lengthy.
Don't fluff it up. Just give me the answer, please. That's what the listeners want. That's what
I
want.
Well, I'll start up the sea and the tree change. So when I say that, there's been a trend going forward, and this was pre-COVID, where people were migrating away from major cities into more coastal locations near the beach and near I guess, bushland and things like that, because I guess as humans, right, like we haven't really been confined, especially in Australia, to dense city populations over time. And with the advancement of technology, you can live and work in many different places in the world. So people are choosing to um, move out of the big major cities where there's the hustle and bustle, and go and live in places like Gold Coast, Geelong, Sunshine Coast, and places like that around Australia. Even going a little bit further out to places like Albury-Wodonga, where there's some really nice lush rainforests and stuff that surround that region, and they're doing it for lifestyle and also financially, because they can buy a property there for $600,000 as opposed to $6 million in.
So what you're saying is people are moving away, instead of going from trees to sea, they're going from the ocean side more inland. Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's two trends. One is towards coastal, and the other one is towards like inland. And I'll break that down a bit further because I'm a little bit more biased towards the sea, the coastal locations over the tree locations. Yeah, so I'll break that down a little bit more in step 13, where it's talking about the water effect, and that's sort of a key metric I layer over. And you can have places that have good lush rainforest, like Gold Coast. We're pretty close to national parks and things like that near us, and we're also near the coastline, so that's like a double whammy. And that's where you see places like Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast have really outperformed over the last 5 to 10 years.
I'd be really interested to know the amount of people wanting to go from the ocean to a more rural location, like forest area, trees, and then and then what the amount would be from living rural or in the trees, more tree dwelling areas, I should say. Not a tree house. Hopefully they're not in a tree house, but who knows? Could be. And moving to the sea, because which one is greater in terms of supply and demand. And you and I have a friend who went from sea to trees. Pezza. He got sick of the gentrification on the Gold Coast and went out to Kyogle. And so, each to their own. And he's frothing it, loves it. So I'd love to know the supply and demand on that, because that's gonna change the, if you're investing in property, where to buy and where not to buy. So I guess we'll keep people dangle the carrot until number 13, huh?
Yeah, well, my basically little spiel on the seeing a tree change is that Australians, they have an affinity for residing near the sea, that surpasses other nationalities. Basically, investing in seaside spots also involves certain risks, such as locations that depend mainly on tourism and retirement being unstable and unpredictable. Furthermore, tree change locations that offer rural living close to large cities should also be considered, due to the increasing demand for rural lifestyle properties with easy access to the internet. And what I'm sort of going on that is that the coastal locations historically have been more, they fluctuate more. So it's important to sort of outline that. And that's what you're seeing in other certain locations. Like you got the major, they're called, like Gold Coast is a regional location, but it's I think it's a larger city mass. I think it's the 6th largest city, so it's bigger than Darwin and bigger than Hobart, I believe. So it's a different kettle of fish these days. No doubt there's still boom and busts in that location, especially with units when it comes to that. But there's definitely a shift towards those two types of locations. Right. So as always, that's one layer of confluence, as I call it. So when you're making an investment decision, you need to stack your layers of justification to pull that trigger, and you've got to take the risk too, because you're not always right. But with property, by the time you go through and you actually do it, there's so many ways to reduce that risk and then also amplify the return. And outperforming the Australian average growth rate isn't the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, if you got this 13-step formula. What's number 2?
Then you layer on all the short-term data as well on top of that, and I guess experience in knowing what is a good property. Then it's a pretty good and strong formula. So number 2 is infrastructure. So transport, building new highways and railway lines, can definitely affect the worth of a property. Industrial areas, they experience most growth of that due to like new roads, new access. But residential is obviously positive influence because it's attracting people into that area to initially build the locations, but then like they're building the infrastructure for people to come and live. Like you look at America, right? They've got 50 different states and 50 cities essentially. Australia's got a similar landmass, but we've got 7 major cities in Australia. So the trend is there, and you're seeing it come now. Like Townsville is a pretty large regional location these days. Even Geelong, which is near Melbourne, and you go further up to Newcastle, Ballarat, Bendigo. There's a lot going on in these areas, and it's the infrastructure that allows it. And that's one of the, when I'm talking about infrastructure too, like one key point that I look for a good growth location is having at least 3 major highways accessing into the location, especially for those like more inland ones. Coastal's a bit more linear, but if you've got a major intersection where there's like to get to a certain location in Australia, you have to drive through another one. And that's where your places like your Albury-Wodonga region is always going to benefit because it's a major logistics hub, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it does make sense. Cool. Three main highways.
Other infrastructure is education and then medical that I like to look at as well. So
medical as in terms of hospitals.
Yeah, hospitals, medical centres, because there's always businesses that are related around that. And also, for people to
live in that area,
move to a location. It's like you go over to, maybe Bali, maybe not Bali. It's probably more gentrified these days. But when we go surfing and you're sitting there, you're like, wow, if I get sort of like dragged over this reef, it's going to hurt, and I'll probably have to get a helicopter out. Like where's the next hospital? Like,
correct.
There's the risk. But for older people, obviously the aging demographic we're going through at the moment, you need healthcare.
You need healthcare. If you're going to fall over and you're 75, how far away is the ambulance, and then how far away is the medical centre? And even if they just got little things, niggling things, they need to go to the doctor, how far away is it? And if they do need to go to the hospital. Makes sense. So that's number 2. That's really good. 3 major highways, medical,
and education. So it's pretty goes without saying it. I know it's common sense, but everything's common sense. And there's a book called I think it's like Checklist, and it's all about like we all know these things, but when you're in the heat of the moment, it's just
when you're emotional about the property, then you can forget that. Hey, it might if I've got tenants that have going to have a young family, where are they going to send them to school? And then if they do end up staying there, what university would they go to?
So I say new educational precincts that include daycare centres, schools and universities can enhance the location's attractiveness to parents, teachers and students. So that wraps up number 2.
Great.
And then number 3, my friend, it's a bit dry, but it's like, look, we're a property investing podcast, and this is sort of my thesis that I've built out over the last 6 years doing this. So you need a bit of a checklist. And the third is employment diversity. It goes without saying, going into a mining town, there's high risk, there's high cash flow, but when you're investing, the number one thing you should really be trying to focus on is not losing money. So having diversity of employment gives a bit more of a solid economic background for the location you're buying into.
Yeah, there's no single source of tenants that are after one certain thing, and if that thing's not there, they're out of there. It's got some other legs to stand on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes, medical, education, tourism, shopping malls, airports is a interesting one as well. Like there's all these major employment hubs that are pretty key to that diversity, and it's tried and true over time. People get a little bit tricky, but keep it simple, stupid sometimes.
Yeah, cool. Number 3, that's done for sure.
That's number 3. Number 4 is government agendas. Now, this is a bit of a juicy one.
Speculation? Much speculation in these ones, or what?
Look, they've all got plans, right? Each state government and local area government put forward their proposals for what they want in the future for their town. They need to be putting plans in place because a good local government area, they run it like a business, right? Like, so you need to attract more residents into your location, gives you more funding, which allows you to grow. And with that growth comes opportunity. And most people that are in, sort of politics and business that are surrounding those areas, they're looking for growth because that leads to profit growth as well. And when I'm saying like government agendas, it's like they've all got different policy choices, and they also get funding from state and national governments based on what policies they put forward. So like urban revitalization projects are a really big one that they're all trying to do because it increases that livability and happiness in that sort of community. And then, one thing, especially on the Gold Coast, like there's like a push, there's all these flood zones, right? Like trying to how can we utilize flood prone areas to increase livability. There's an interesting project in Robina actually at the moment where, to develop all this land, there's a lot of like green pasture land, which is lovely, but you can't, like, it's very expensive to build on it to, I guess, amplify that overall appeal for the area. So some pretty cool projects is like, all right, well, we know it's going to flood, once every 50 years or so. So they're building out like sort of parklands, like it's a vacant land and parkland space, but they're looking to run big stages and events on it, which definitely brings more attractiveness to that area for families and people, because like we're all humans. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like who really likes sitting inside like a bedroom for the rest of their life, or a house the rest of their life? It's kind of like a jail cell.
Exactly. Are you talking about the park that you went to on the weekend with the kids, right? The new one.
Oh, it's like steroids, man. It's great. Not like, no, I've done steroids, but like
it's like a sick park for kids.
It's like, it's like a free. Obviously, I felt good for paying my rates that day. So.
That's so good.
It's what is it? It's like a theme park. It's like a free theme park, and they've got football ovals. They have like little rock climbing wall, basketball courts, park. Like
wow.
Took my boys there. Archie rode it. Like I took the training wheels off his bike. He is 4, so it's about time. But we all evolve in different ways, and the kid can surf at 4, so strengths and weaknesses everywhere. But he's
we're not judging your kids here.
No, I judge mine. I'm like, come on, but he just nailed it. I literally just like pushed him off, and he was just he's frothing. He's on the go, and I'm like, wow, how cool. And things like that really help, like with livability, essentially.
Hugely. I mean, how cool is it, for your kids to be stoked on a Saturday morning, knowing that they can go there, and it makes you stoked and it makes you happy to be in that area. And that's really good for a tenant, or if you're living there. So urban development's pretty big. That's number 4. What have we got at number 5?
I said reliable locations, and so like particular areas stay steady in terms of business performance. So these places are really recognised for their reliable sales numbers, like transactions for houses. It's like a confidence score. And Matt from Hashtag Analytics, he runs confidence in his data, and it's like when you're looking at it, if you have a higher volume of data points, it gives you greater level of confidence over a larger span. So
absolutely,
they generally show a decent degree of growth each year. Even good and bad times. So it gives you a little bit of confidence in entering into that area. And they're usually sort of near those city centres. And then also the studies that you go back and you look at, like they suggest that the outer suburbs and regional cities can also be really consistent performers. And you can go down major rabbit holes, and a lot of people start looking in a place like Broken Hill in Australia where you get really strong cash flow, but it's a mining town, so it's not reliable in number of transactions to sort of give you that confidence. Because for me personally, I'm more of a long-term investor, and if you think that you're really smart, like, and that you can pick the top and the bottom, go for it. But you'd be less if you'd be the part of the 0.0001% of people, and if you think you can do that, all power to you. I'd love to sort of check in on your journey every couple of years.
That's number 5, huh? What's number 6?
School zones.
School zones. So it's similar to 3, I think it was.
Yeah, education, but like the school zones is like public schools. People do get attracted towards public schools, and decent public schools, because obviously they can get free education, and it's good for their kids. So pretty straightforward. Being into certain catchment zones is a layer that I like to look at, like proximity to these schools, because it enhances livability. Number 7, though, is a little bit different. It's more like I could call it boom town syndrome. So, like, at times, localized regions become popular for like a particular reason, but like certain places in Australia witness a surge in real estate prices due to presence of resources in the vicinity. But like these spots, they're more volatile, so they experience a lot more price fluctuations.
So which is like you said, diversification of employment. If you've got some town with strong resources and the stronger, like 70% of employment is miners, then obviously you can have the fluctuations when there's maybe a massive tax on resources and the less people are mining and whatnot, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like the construction of major manufacturing plants or infrastructure projects like that, they definitely have an effect. Of creating jobs and bringing people to the area. You can get sort of caught up in the data and get all a little bit excited, like what happened to Gladstone back in sort of 2000, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So and the key here,
long time ago as well.
Yeah, that was sort of similar to around 2005. Like Perth was just booming. But the key is to ensure that you're not investing in something like that's a one-trick pony town.
Yeah.
Cool. You can go in, like there are, if we talk about this, like where property can be traded a little bit more now, and you can, but for me, it makes sense to me because I'm in it every single day and I'm looking at it. But
for most people are, the general sense is it's hard to buy a property, and it's not somebody people like just to get your finances done, your tax returns done, and then to get finance. And it's a massive job to just buy one property. People aren't jumping at it in terms of to trade it, like sell it in 5 years. People are looking for something longer term. So why would you go for something that's a one-trick pony town when you could have some stability with the other 6 things that we mentioned? So is that number 7?
Number 8 is the ripple effect. So it pretty much it makes sense. Like I like to look at there's growth locations, growth suburbs especially, and then there's a lot of data that points to surrounding suburbs. They benefit greatly from just supply gets sucked out, prices go up in that suburb, and then the next suburbs benefit as a result. It's pretty straightforward, common sense, but it's something that you layer on. There's a suburb level, but also you look at. So Gold Coast had a bit of had a boom. Brisbane and Sunshine Coast all had a bit of boom. Ipswich, Logan had a boom. Toowoomba, like it's all that sort of
a rising tide lifts all boats sort of effect.
Yeah, and number 9, rags to riches. So it's kind of like we talked about in the past. Like basically, some suburbs were absolute ghettos, and it's just due to price pressure and surrounding areas. Those rag locations offer really good value, and if you can enter into at the right time, you can buy really well. Most people why would you buy there? You're going to get high tenant turnover and a lot of drama, and you might do for the first year, but then or first 1 or 2 years, but then it gentrifies and then it just goes to the roof. And all the fundamentals of a good location from a local government area is still the same. It's just the last suburb to sort of boom.
Which is really a cool thing to think about, is like looking for a rags to riches sort of location. If you can find something that's got like a bunch of government like a little bit of government housing, or government housing is being squeezed out by gentrification, then and it ticks the other boxes of the rest of the things on this 13-point list. I mean, you really that's the ground floor to get in on, isn't it?
Yeah. Nah, that's my viewpoint. Like, just trying to give as much value as possible. So we'll jump into number 10. And like number 10, like I guess I doubled down on number 13 because I talk about water a fair bit, but it's a common theme because there's definitely the outperformance. I mean, we spoke to multiple different data scientists and location research experts on the podcast. Like, just go back and, there's a few episodes with Matt and Luke Metcalf that we talked to, and it's like water's a big feature in that, but lifestyle features, it's
so number 10 is lifestyle features.
Yeah, rivers, canals, parks, lakes, they tend to be a little bit more expensive to live near because it's got stronger livability. Golf courses, they're things that people are attracted to from a lifestyle perspective. Neighborhoods with restaurants and bars, like nice cafes, all that comes under the lifestyle feature banner. So, there's a little tip and trick is like if you go into a location, it looks like a bit of a ghetto, but there's a really good coffee store with actually like a trendy little barista. That's a sign I look for when I'm going into certain locations as well.
Cool.
And then number 11 is called the major warehouse effect. I did have it as the Bunnings effect, but
the Mitre 10s are coming back, aren't they?
Sorry, Mitre 10s?
Mitre 10s are coming back, which is great. Let's give Bunnings competition.
Well, like you look at it, like it goes major warehouse, but it can go into like Woolworths, Coles, Aldi, Bunnings, Mitre 10. These big sort of shopping chains, like they spend, and I say Bunnings, and I'll get to it in a second, or like those warehouse type places, because they got whole teams around location research trying to find the next location.
They're not going to build something without some level of demand, so it's really good. Yeah,
and as an investor, this is like the kicker is having access, like proximity access to something like that. If you're doing renovations, it makes it a lot easier, trades, etc. So, and
just also livability. People, okay, there's a great shopping center. I don't need to go to like 2 shopping centers to get all the food that I want, or 3 shopping centers that are all little local ones, which can be great and feeding the economy, local economy. But sometimes if you've got kids and you're just like, I just need to get everything at one shop, like you can go to Woolies, Coles and get it all, and that's really attractive for tenants.
Yeah, and number 12 is the healthcare effect. So doubling down, but it's being near hospitals, investors gain a lot of confidence, and it's low tenant turnover rate. People are more attracted to be there. Medical precincts, as going deeper into that, is like as our population grows and ages, demand for healthcare and essential services is rising really fast. And these areas attract strong rental demand and medical staff, shift workers, retirees, families. There's a big cohort, which leads to lower vacancy rates, stable returns, and also long-term capital growth. Plus, ongoing, government investment in health and infrastructure adds a lot of confidence, and it's a push in the Australian economy now to sort of push that. So that's why I double down on certain things. And the final one is. It probably doesn't need to be the 13 because we've touched on it so many times, but just water. Like, if you have proximity to a nice lake or like those lifestyle features,
beautiful beach,
coastline. Yeah, the beach is the best, like because you can't build further out. There's a lot of scarcity around that and proximity to the beach.
But I mean, like this is why the Gold Coast is so good. Is you got the beach, and then just behind you, you've got the lakes or what would you call them? The canals, and then you've also like yeah, I mean, the Gold Coast is a massive city now, but if you go to little places, like I was in Merimbula over Easter, you've got the beach, and then you got like the estuaries inland, then you got like beautiful national park, and you've got Woolworths, you've got a Rip Curl there, you've got like hospital. Like I went there 30 years ago as a kid, and there was not much there. And if you bought, even if you're buying there in the next, couple of years, it seems like a good location. Obviously, you don't quote me on that, but it's got those fundamentals that we mentioned in those 13 things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not rags to riches, but
yeah. Well, it depends on your purchase price range. Like most investors are sub 650, but there's a lot of opportunity into the 650 to 900 bracket at the moment. But the cash flow is not there, so a lot of people can't stomach that negative cash flow carry for too long.
Yeah, I love that. That's an amazing 13-point checklist, Sam. Many years has gone into that, guys. I would re-listen to this again because we did just go through them pretty fast. But on the next episode, I'm gonna grill Sam and try and get him to condense his, instead of location research, we're going to talk about like suburb research. Once you find that location based on these 13 points, what are some of the things you need to look for in terms of street appeal and different things in the suburb? And I know he's got a lot of them, but I'm going to try and grill him to distill it down to like the top 5, which we can talk about in the next potty. So stay tuned for that one.